Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another super cool radio interview. I'm your host, always, Matthew Thomas. Thank you so much for tuning in. I have an incredible guest joining me at this time, making her third appearance here on the podcast. She's an incredible vocalist and a songwriter and the creator of Blankera. Please welcome Jaycee Clark.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's awesome to have you back on the podcast. It's been about a year and a half since our last interview. You've been very busy, obviously, with Blankera, so I'm excited to have you on the podcast again.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been nice kind of getting out of the shadows that I've been hiding in for a while. So we're going to talk and hope that I'm not too awkward because that kind of is my specialty.
It's all good. It's all good. But before we dive into Blankera, so I got to talk about A Day to Remember. So,
my favorite topic. Let's go.
Good. All right, so they just released a new album, only available on physical copy. How'd you track yours down?
I saw that they had a list of states and cities that were doing listening parties for that night. So I just went there and assumed that they would have it, and they did. But before that, I saw that they were having the physicals out. So I got in my car and just drove to Target and then got there and went, oh, I don't even have my purse with me. I don't have my wallet. So yeah, the excitement was real. I just headed, I'm like the biggest fangirl, obviously. So there was no way I wasn't going to get that CD or the vinyl the first day it came out. And I've listened to it and I'm obsessed with it. It's already gone platinum in this household. So
Well, very good. Definitely leaving the house without your purse. That's definitely a level of excitement to not even have your money with you. But I'm glad it worked out.
I'm an idiot, but it's fine. We got there eventually. I'm excited that there's still a band out there that gets me that excited to just like drop everything I'm doing and go get it. It makes me feel like I'm 16 years old again, rushing out after school to go pick up a copy and sit there and read along with the lyrics. And I love that. So thank you, ADTR, for bringing back a sense of nostalgia that I have been missing for far too long.
Well, I'm really glad to hear. I'm glad with like the music that it does get you excited as a fan to hear new music from them. That's just that level of connection. As obviously we've talked about A Day to Remember very much on this podcast with
Always.
you as well. But I'm just happy to hear that you were able to get your copy and you're excited to hear the music. Will you defend this album with your life?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You can find me in the trenches defending A Day to Remember until I'm in the grave from now until forever. So if anybody else is, come join me. Let's defend them together. It's nice to have, allies in this fight.
Oh, for sure. But now, I actually, before I even saw they released a new album, I had one more Day to Remember question, and then I promise we will be getting to Blankera. So I'm curious. So if they asked you to create a set list for their show, what song would you want them to open with?
Oh, open? Okay, this sounds like a cop-out because they're already doing it, but opening with Downfall of Us All is just classic. Just the da-da-da-da-da-da is such a sick way to open a set and have the entire crowd hype from the beginning. So I think they really nailed it with that, and I wouldn't change it.
Very nice. Excellent pick. All right, so now, focusing on Blankera now, because obviously this is the main portion. It was fun to talk about A Day to Remember. I'm sure they will come up later in this interview, but Blankera. So curious for you. So before we really get involved in the music and writing and recording side, how did this project come about?
I've been in bands basically my entire musical career, and I feel like when you're in a band, it's such a collaborative process, and you have to take everybody's input into consideration. And so I just got to a point where I was like curious about what music would sound like through my lens if I only had to focus it through my own personal lens. And it was like a really liberating experience to and highly anxiety driven to call all the shots myself. But I'm super proud of what I did. A lot of people thought that I could not pull it off, and this is a big ol' to all of them. So
Well, I was very excited when I heard that you were working on your own solo project, just to see like where you would go, like with the music style and everything. I had full confidence you could do it. Anyone who said you couldn't, well, you already
Loser.
Exactly. But I was really excited with that. So like, I'm kind of curious. So what was like the biggest thing you either learned about yourself or about music through writing and recording Broaded?
Yeah, so that was kind of the inspiration for the entire EP as a whole. Was I just kind of got to a place where I realized that my people pleasing habits were kind of running my entire life. And I was trying so hard to fight for this version of me that it was becoming more and more obvious that I had outgrown. So when you're going through a breakup with yourself, it's really tough to kind of hold yourself accountable because there's nobody there to stop you. You really have to be like, no, we don't do that anymore. Nope. So Rotted as a whole was sort of the grieving process of letting go of this old version of yourself and allowing yourself to change and to grow and to be something new and to try on new hats. So I thought not only for like a new project was that a great way to kind of kick things off and transition into this new era, no pun intended. But I also really wanted to use it as a way to inspire other people to start their own blank eras if they're in a situation that they feel like they're just not happy in anymore, because we're human and our brains like to keep us stuck where we're at. So I'm hoping that I can be, a little reminder that you can do whatever the fuck you want. And it doesn't matter how old you are or where you come from or what you look like. Just do it and it'll be fine. So that's my soapbox.
No, for sure. And I do want to unpack that just a little bit, especially like for me, I've definitely kind of started to transition. Like I'm also a people pleaser when it comes to things. I always want to make people happy with stuff. And eventually that wears you out to where you don't enjoy life. So I've been trying to set boundaries and limits of like what I can do for people, what I can't do for people, and what I'm willing to do for people. And it's definitely hard to kind of fix that mindset, especially like I've been like this my whole life. So it's hard to fix that mindset with trying to set boundaries and break up with yourself.
Absolutely. And there's so many people when you start to hold those boundaries that kind of switch up on you and try to gaslight you into feeling like you're doing a bad thing. Like, you've changed, you're different. It's like, well, yeah, that's kind of the point. So, and it's really hard, at least for me, I have like a big fear of confrontation and I don't like feeling like anybody's mad at me or that I'm disappointing anybody. But at some point you really have to prioritize yourself and your own needs, because otherwise you find yourself feeling emotionally dead, which is where I was at. And you can either continue to stay there or you can break out of it. It's really up to you.
No, exactly. And especially like I've definitely gone through, phases of feeling like that, emotionally dead, which it just kills all of life. If you can't experience like any emotion in your life, it just makes life just so much worse than what it is.
Sucks.
Yes, it does. But it's funny, like I also do not like confrontation that much. I'm willing to like just, talk it out, willing to work with people. I don't go to drastic extremes like, hey, let's have a conversation, let's work it out. But it's so funny because like I work in customer service where I have to confront people. And it's like the total opposite of, who I really am, which just, It is what it is. But, I also have to pay for things. I've heard money is important to some degree.
Unfortunately.
Exactly. But also with that, I think, especially nowadays with like music or just really anything in general, like, podcasting as well, it's easier, I think, nowadays to start things. The technology is there, the equipment is there. You don't need a whole production. Obviously it's still important, you still need some production elements with anything you do, but I think it's easier to get started and to do things yourself compared to probably a decade or two ago.
Absolutely. Yeah, like there's so much technology, and between Chat GPT and YouTube videos, you can figure anything out and become self-sufficient. So that has been a thing about being like a solo artist now, is I have like 48 new job titles and I've never done any of them before, like graphic design or shit like that. I've never done it before, but here I am creating lyric videos and album art and all kinds of things that I've never seen myself doing before, just out of necessity, because it's either do it yourself or figure out a way to pay for it. And I'm a broke ass bitch, so we're going to figure out how to do it ourselves. But I also really like being able to challenge my own creativity in that way. So honestly, it works out.
Oh, for sure. I'm in a similar way because, well, I am also broke. So, the whole money thing of, being able to pay for things, I don't have, just like with you, that necessity to have an editor, have a graphic designer, and all of that stuff. Like we have to do everything ourselves, which I think also makes it kind of more exciting because it's also, you're doing everything. So you have like complete control. You don't have to like, oh, I got to talk to this person and see if we can change that. No, like, oh, I'll just do it myself. I think it's a little bit, definitely way more liberating with that.
100%. I've gone through so many processes where I would just like hire out for these kinds of things, and then you receive it and you have like a bunch of revisions. And again, as a people pleaser who didn't want to like insult anybody, sometimes I would use things that I didn't fully believe in because I didn't want to feel bad critiquing their art that I'm paying for. And so, I'm like, you know what, I could just do it all myself. And then when I get to a place where I'm happy with it, I can just move forward instead of, overthinking the entire situation and prioritizing how somebody feels about me giving revisions than putting out like a piece of artwork. Like, it's not that deep, girl.
But also with that, I think it expedites the process for like, especially for me, like I can have an internal conversation with myself and make a decision a lot sooner than it is to email or text somebody, hey, I need this done, and then wait however long until I receive it. I think it expedites the process, but also it's easier to critique myself when I'm doing something.
100%. That is the tea.
Because I've definitely done stuff, I've either edited stuff or created stuff, and I go, this looks like shit, Matthew. What are you doing? And I go, yes, it does. Let me fix that.
Very mad. There's so many times I've created something and I'm like, ew, why would you use that? And then just like start from scratch, like completely over again. And that's okay because you learn things along the way that help you get there faster the next time. It's all about, just doing it instead of sitting there and allowing your like limitations to keep you stuck.
Oh, exactly too. And I'm obviously with Rotted, like obviously you've expanded on your skills as well, not only as a musician and performer, but obviously all of the like, I don't know, admin, whatever the behind the scenes side as well.
Yeah, all the boring things that nobody talks about.
Oh yeah, the whole
it's a lot. There were a lot of tears and panic attacks and crash outs and the whole nine. So, but in a weird way, it was also like the least anxious I've ever been to put out a piece of music. So I'll take it. I will honestly take it.
Okay, well, I did kind of want to, that was actually one of my questions. I was going to lead to that. So like when you released Rotted, like did you feel any, like, were you nervous? Did you feel any pressure? Like how was it like when you released it?
So it was kind of like, I cried the second that it actually came out because of course that's just who I am as a person. But I was really proud of myself. And I think, regardless of what people may think of what I put out, I was just so proud that I did this whole thing myself and just put it together and released it. So that was like a really big moment for me. I've never done that in all of my years of life. So yeah, more than nervous or caring about what people thought about it, I was just proud, and I'm really grateful to be in a position where I could feel that way instead of letting things like numbers and streams and playlists and all of the kind of shit that like clouds your vision of what you've actually done was not in my way. And that was a very welcome break.
Oh no, it definitely is. Cause I feel like, and obviously I've fallen into this too, where you focus like almost solely on numbers when it comes to thing and not appreciate art for what it is.
Right, exactly. There were so many times in the past where I would release music, and if the numbers weren't doing well, then I wasn't doing well, and I put all of my worth into numbers, which is so stupid when you kind of zoom out and look at it. It's kind of like, did you create something that you love? Did you put it out there? Are you proud of it? Those are the things that matter, not necessarily, all the X, Y, and Z of shit that like numbers and streams. Like, of course you want people to hear it because you're hoping that it can help people, but at the same time, like, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, like, they are literally just numbers on a page. They don't actually, they're not the true connection with people. Like, obviously, there's no faces to these numbers. There's literally just numbers.
Right,
and
exactly.
That kind of does take away from the art itself when you have to attach like value in numbers, because obviously, as you said, the numbers aren't as important.
Right. Like when I started creating music and when I first got into music, none of that stuff mattered. I created music because as a shy, awkward person with no friends, I started writing music as an outlet to process the things that I was feeling. And I think that I want to continue to focus more on that aspect of it than, the business and the industry side of it. Like that stuff is important eventually, but like I never want to lose sight of like what really matters, which is, you kind of helping yourself and then by extension, hopefully helping other people. But yeah.
Oh no, for sure. And I think when people just focus on like, I'm going to write a song that, gets a lot of numbers, I think that kind of kills the creativity and kills like the music process, because you're writing it for somebody else. You're not writing it for yourself as well.
That's exactly right. Like, I feel like everything starts to sound similar because people are chasing the sound that's doing well and they are ignoring what, makes them happy and the things that they like to hear, and are afraid to take risks and try something new because, I don't know if people would like that. And when you get stuck in that cycle, you're just not being true to yourself.
Oh, for sure. And I think that, that definitely kills the artistic side of it, because then it just feels like a cog in the machine we got to produce the same style of music because, this band did it, so we got to do it or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think that just waters down the process.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's great to take influence from these things, but you still have to like put yourself into it at some point, because otherwise like nobody gets to know who you are. And then you're not even really liking the stuff that you're putting out, and you feel resentful of it because you're not honoring the thing that you want to do. So yeah. Listen to your gut, kiddos. God, what was that voice?
I don't know. I don't know, but
sorry, that slipped out.
All good. So I'm trying to get. I was trying to get to my next point here, but that was good. That was good. I agree. Voice aside, I agree. But so
it got too serious. I had to make it a little stupid where I'm comfortable.
Very good. Very good. we don't want to be too serious on this podcast.
Absolutely.
We're here to have fun. But we have been talking very serious so for like the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, I'm like, I gotta break this up. I'm gonna cry.
We can't do that. No cheers on Super Cool Radio. I gotta fill out a lot of paperwork if that happens.
Life is balance.
Exactly. All right. Well, I do got a few more things about Blankera, but let's break this up here. I do got a fun question to ask you. Debuting a new question. You were the first guest I'm gonna ask, so we'll see how well this goes.
Flattered. So, okay, let's go.
If you're running short on time and you got to be at a certain place in a short amount of time, what song are you listening to?
Oh, what song am I listening to? Okay, this is probably going to be a kind of weird answer, but I have been obsessed with Doja Cat's album Scarlet recently. So I think that Demons right now it would be like my speeding song.
Nice.
It gets me hype. It makes me get there fast. It makes me feel like that bitch. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and stick with that.
Nice. Actually, I do like that album too. Like I've listened to it. It's actually her music actually really good. I know she gets some hate online, but like it's actually really good.
But I love that she is just so unafraid to say whatever. I've taken a lot of inspiration from that recently, and she is one hell of a performer. So I would love to see her live.
Same. So for me, I'm going to go with Liberate by Disturb, because that is like if I got to go somewhere fast and I'm going to be speeding in my 2003 Corolla, I'm going to listen to Disturb.
As you should. That is a great answer.
For sure. But now,
I like that question though. Good one.
Thank you. I write my own material.
No ghostwriters here.
Love that. That's right. But now, diving back into Blankera now. So I'm curious, kind of wrapping this up with that. How do you know when a song is complete?
You don't. And I think that's a trap that I've fallen into in the past is I will create something, love it, step away from it for a while, come back to it, and keep nitpicking until it kind of drains the life out of the entire thing. And so I think at some point you just have to get it somewhere to where you're proud and walk away and be like, this is it. People aren't going to miss what they haven't heard. So if you have like 1,000 ideas, nobody's going to know about them. So at some point you just have to get to where you're happy with it, put it out there, and let Jesus take the wheel.
No, I definitely agree with that. And I am, again, with me, divulging a lot of personal stuff. Hope people enjoy this because, like, I'm a perfectionist when it comes to things like I want it to look or sound or, you know, it's got to feel a certain way. And then I wind up making too many edits and I just mess everything up. And I keep falling into that trap. You know, I've tried to be better at it in the last few years, but I am like such a perfectionist that it hurts.
100%. I get, again, for all my astrology girlies, I'm a Virgo, so I am very critical and a perfectionist and feel the need to keep like working on things until it's perfect. And what I have been trying to teach myself recently is that perfect is absolutely boring. Perfect is drained of all personality, and people will connect with you on your imperfections more than they will how perfect something is. So we're trying to break that bad habit, and it is very, very, very hard. But sometimes you just have to be like, fuck it, that's it. This didn't sound that great. Put it out, whatever, it's fine. Because what's the worst that can happen, honestly? Someone's going to tell you that they don't like it. Even when it's perfect, someone's going to tell you that they don't like it. So find your tribe, find the people that get it and see you for you. That's the biggest piece of advice that I have learned.
Oh no, for sure. And with that, I like that you said like people aren't gonna miss, you know, what they didn't already hear or see or whatever. They don't know it's not, you know, that it was gonna be there or whatever. That they're not going to miss it per se. And I think also with the imperfections, it shows that we're all human. Because if everything sounded too perfect, then we would just be a bunch of robots.
Right, exactly. Like I think about some of my favorite songs, and my favorite parts in songs are things where like a note like breaks a little bit, or there's like a really like shaky breath or something that would normally get edited out. And I find those things so incredibly human and real that I'm like, why am I not doing that for myself? Why can't I see that beauty in my own art that I see in other people? So we're just trying it on, seeing how it goes.
Oh no, for sure. And I know, like, for me, like, I mentioned, I'm in school, you know, so like I'm writing like papers, like, you know, a paper a week or 2 papers a week, and like I always fall into well, I can make this edit, I can do this, and I'm like, you know what? If I'm like happy with it, and this is like the best I can do it, and all these are just minuscule, like minute changes that probably won't affect anything, I'm just gonna save myself some time. I'm gonna turn it in, and honestly, I have a 4.0 so far. So I'm doing good.
That's the thing. It's just you're always so close to it when it's your baby. But nobody else picks up on those things. And it's kind of crazy, like how much time and effort and like anxiety you would save yourself if you would just allow yourself, you know, these little imperfections here and there. Like, and that's like when I did the Rotted album, that was, like I said, like a big thing for me, as I wanted it to sound as raw and ugly and gross as I possibly could. So like listening back now, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I would use that take. But in hindsight, I'm also like, people are commenting specifically on how they like that line. And I'm like, that's because I allowed myself to just let it be instead of trying to, like I said, let it be lifeless by taking out all the real parts of it.
No, for sure. And I've listened to the Rotted album. I really like it because, you know, you have that kind of blend of, you got some heavier songs in there. You got some like, you know, more lighter songs that, you know, don't feature like guitars or anything like that, you know, like piano or something like that, or strings. But you focus a lot of different like elements in there. And I do like that it's a little bit, you know, you have some of those, not like completely raw, like, but there's a little, not imperfections, but I'm trying to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I wanted it to sound like venting because I was. So I'm like, instead of trying to like make things so singy and pretty, I'm like, I just want to be like yelly and like having an argument with myself, because I totally was. And so I wanted to be able to look back on it, you know, a year, 2 years, 5 years from now, and like feel the way I felt in that moment when I created it. And I think that I did a good job at capturing that, at least for my own sake. My little yearbook.
No, I think so too. And you definitely, like, it has heart to it
Thank
as
you.
well. It's got soul. Like I can tell you put your entire self into the EP.
I tried real hard.
You
And like I
definitely
said, when you're so proud of something like that, it's hard to be anxious putting it out. Like I said, even if people were going to come back and say negative things about it, I truly just didn't care. And I feel like that's the first time I've ever been able to truly say that. So yay!
exactly. All right, so now I got just a few more things before we wrap up this interview. So I got another fun question that we'll be talking about the future plans for yourself. But I'm curious for you, obviously, through years of touring and being a musician, you've met a lot of different people. So who's the most famous person you have met who is not a musician?
Who is not a musician? Okay, I didn't actually meet this person, but they were standing in front of me in Starbucks, so I'm gonna count it.
That counts.
And that is Theo Vaughn, the comedian, who I am a super fangirl of. I was God, this is embarrassing. I was very hungover, and so I walked into the Starbucks to get coffee, and total douchebag rock star. I just had sunglasses on the whole time. Did not want to be seen by anybody. And Theo Vaughn was right in front of me, and it took me a minute to really connect that it was him. And I'm like, oh shit, that is Theo Vaughn. And so I'm like, should I say something? Should I not? And then I was ultimately like, no, I'm not gonna bother him. And then he got swarmed as soon as I had that thought. I'm like, I'm glad I wasn't an extra person. And he was very nice to everybody. He didn't seem super bothered, but I can imagine it gets very overwhelming to have a sea of people around you trying to talk to you. So I feel good about letting him be. But I love you, Theo Vaughn.
But I think in that situations, I always feel I have that inner dialogue of should I say something, should I not say something, because then you have 10 other people who are gonna do the same thing. So I think you made the right call.
Yeah, and I'm always just kind of oh, I'm going to say something so stupid to this man. There's no and then the shame will follow me forever, and I'll just wake up at 4 a.m. being cringe.
But then Theo Vaughn might just randomly remember, hey, I think that one girl was weird to me one day.
You know what? I could live with that. I feel like he could appreciate some weird. I think there's some comedy in there.
I think he could be. Yeah, he could have used it a bit for his set.
That's what I should have done. I should have been as weird as possible and just made it into a set. And I could be like, that's me. I'm the weird girl.
That's resume worthy.
Yeah, honestly, it is iconic even.
All right, so now as we're closing this interview out, so obviously we are in February right now. So what is your plans for the rest of 2025?
I am currently working on more new music because I think it's time for the next set. I spent the year taking a vacation, which I've not done in many years. So it felt really good to allow myself time to kind of zoom out and not be super music driven for a minute. But now that I'm home, I've got some cool rights set up. I've got some cool collabs coming up. I'm hoping to get back on the road before this year is over. Wish me luck. But yeah, I really just want to move forward and start taking over the world a little bit.
Well, it all leads to world domination.
Exactly.
Very good.
Again, speak it into existence. I'm on it. Right. We're trying to be positive, so that we get some positive results.
Exactly. It's all about the energy you put out in the universe.
That's it.
All right, so now for everyone watching, listening, where are the best places to find Blankera online?
I have been pretty active on TikTok recently. So TikTok at I cannot talk. Inmyblankera on basically everything: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify. If you name it, I'm probably whoring out my music there. So. Yeah, come and find me. I'm still small enough to reply to every single message, so come and Blankera before it was cool.
That's right, and only nice comments for everyone watching.
Or be mean, and I'll have my own mean things to say. Just kidding. I'll cry and then I'll be, beating myself up about it, but it's fine.
Yeah, let's avoid that. All right. Well, I will leave some links for Blank Air in the description of this podcast as well. Please make sure to give Rotted a listen. But Jaycee, thank you so much for stopping by Super Cool Radio again. It's always a fun time chatting with you.
Yes, this is always so much fun. I always look forward to being able to catch up with you. So hopefully it won't be a year and a half before the next one. That's honestly horrible. So more of this.
Definitely more of this. But thank you again for Jaycee Clark of Blank Air. I'm your host always, Matthew Thomas. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Super Cool Radio. And remember, stay frosty.